Alright, so welcome back to Zoo-ography, how to play. So in the last video we talked about the setup mostly. And so now, and we even talked about the setup, and we had the camera up nice and close so you could see everything. Now everything has been moved back there, so that's basically how the setup is going to look. That's kind of a nice representation of how it's supposed to look. Now let's talk about actually how you play this game. So the first thing I want to talk about first, though, is this nifty little habitat guide. Something to keep in mind when you're building your zoo, okay? So when you're building a zoo, your habitat has to, you have to be able to place animals in a habitat, but animals can only go with certain animals. So for instance, the elephant, the rhino, and the giraffe can never share a habitat together. They will never be able to be in the same habitat together, okay? That is something to note, okay? Now, another thing is you can actually place an ostrich and an antelope, or should I say a gazelle, with the elephant. The rhino can have a gazelle and a zebra, and the giraffe can have a zebra and an ostrich in the same habitat with it. But the giraffe cannot be in the same habitat as the gazelle, for instance. The rhino can't be in the same habitat as the ostrich, and the elephant cannot share a habitat with a zebra. So that's something to note when you're placing animals into your zoo, into a habitat, okay? Now, secluded animals are another story. They will not go with any animal. So if you put them into your zoo, no other animal can go into that habitat with that secluded animal. It's just that one secluded animal, okay? So that's something to note. Now, when placing a big animal, there are some secluded animals that would fit into this equation. The hippo is one of them. The gorilla is another one. Those two big animals are secluded animals, but they're big, and they will go with this next rule. When you place an elephant, a rhino, a giraffe, a hippo, or a gorilla into your zoo, when you place it into the habitat, there must be at least 2 watering holes in the habitat with that animal. So if there isn't at least 2 watering holes in the habitat with that animal, you can't place the animal into that habitat. And another thing, you're also going to need a place to put the animal. And so if you look closely on these tiles, like this one here, this here, you can put animals here, okay? So you're going to need these locations, basically, to put the animals to. This one here, for instance, has a watering hole, but it doesn't have a place to put an animal. This one does, this one does, that one up there does, this one does, but it doesn't have a watering hole. So, and that one obviously does, and that one does. So that's something to note when placing an animal. It actually has to have like a little designated location for the animal that you're going to place as well. Okay, now small animals, they don't need watering holes. Okay, so it's just the big ones, but they need 2 of them. Okay, so it is possible, for instance, to place 2 elephants into the same habitat, for instance. However, that would mean you would need at least 4 watering holes because they each need 2. So that's something to note, that you're going to need, obviously, more watering holes if you're going to place 2 of the same big animal in the same habitat, okay? Now, this is important because one of the actions you can take in this game is you can actually take animals and put them into your zoo as an action. But you'll notice here, we have 3 separate tiles up there that make up that, basically, that area where the animals are going to go when you're drafting tiles and placing out new tiles and stuff like that. And you'll notice that the zebra and the elephant share a space on a tile. They don't share a space, but they're on the same tile. You notice the Galapagos tortoise and the giraffe are on the same tile, and the ostrich is by itself on that tile. If you're going to place animals into your zoo, you can't just simply pick and choose which one you want to put in your zoo. You have to take all of the animals from the same corresponding tile. So if I wanted this elephant, I would also have to take the zebra as well. If I wanted the Galapagos tortoise, I would also need to take that giraffe as well. And if I just had room for one animal, I could luckily at this moment take the ostrich, okay? Because it's by itself at the moment. But that means, as the game goes by, there's going to be more animals on those tiles, which means you're probably going to be taking 3 animals. And those 3 animals, they have to go into your zoo, and they have to go into your zoo legally. They can't share spaces with certain animals. There has to be water for the bigger ones. That means you need separate habitats. That means you need lots of watering holes for the bigger ones, and all that, okay? And then, of course, non-secluded animals. If there's a non-secluded animal like that Galapagos tortoise, it needs a habitat all on its own. So it's not easy to take animals. You're not always going to be able to take animals and put them in your zoo. The beginning of the game might be easy when there's only 1 or 2, but as the game goes by, there's going to be 3 in each one, and sometimes you just don't have enough space for all 3 of them. And if you can't make space for all of them, then you can't take that action to take them. So that is something to note. So, how do you play this game, now that we've covered this habitat guide, more or less? Well, on your turn, you're first going to take or draft one of these tiles, okay? Drafting means you're going to add it to your tiles that are in your hand. These are in my hand, okay? So I'm going to draft a tile from here and put it into my hand. So let's say I was to take, let me see, which one do I want? I guess I could go for this one here that has the restaurant on it. I think I'll go with that one. So that's the first thing you're going to do, is you're going to draft a tile. Then you get 2 actions that you can do. You can do up to 2 actions on your turn. Sometimes you may only be able to take 1 action. Doing an action, one of the actions you can take, there's only 2 actions technically, doing one of the actions you take is actually basically building your first segment in your zoo. Placing a tile, or building a tile, basically, that can be an action, okay? And you can do this twice. So, for instance, I could place another one, and this one goes nicely right here, adjacent to this one. That could be my entire turn, okay? That means if I do this, I can't take animals on this turn, because my second action was placing this. But, if I place this one here, the only action I could take, the only animal I could take is that ostrich, because it would be able to go there. But I wouldn't obviously be able to take the other animals and place them here. And then future turns, it would be harder to take those animals anyways, because now I have less space, and I have an animal here that can't go with certain animals. That ostrich can't go with everything. So it's important to plan ahead, obviously, when taking tiles, when building tiles into your zoo, and stuff like that. But yes, I could do both of these, and that would be a turn, okay? And obviously taking animals, it counts as an action, so that's another thing you can do as well. So you can build one in your zoo, you can take animals, that would be a turn as well. Now you'll notice this city gate here I didn't place first. You do not have to place this one first if you do not want to. You can place it later, and there's a reason why you might want to do so later. One thing is you can never place tiles below where this icon is for this city gate. So a tile can never go right here, okay? It can't go directly below this. So that could put a wrench into, definitely a wrench into your plans, a monkey wrench into your plans when building your zoo. You put this down early, and then you're like, oh, I need to put something here to complete a habitat, but this is in the way right here. So that is something to note. Another thing, this is another strategic thing to do, is there are tiles in there with gift shops on them, and they will score you, basically they will let you put a zoo visitor in a gift shop if the gift shop is adjacent to your city gate. It also works with monorails. The gift shops, if they're placed next to a monorail station, then that is also allowed, that you'll get to place a zoo visitor in a gift shop. But if you're not playing with the monorails, that means the gift shop has to be either here, or here. So that means you might want to hold off on placing this right away until you maybe get a chance to get that gift shop, okay? So that's another reason why you might not want to play this one right away, okay? So you'll just keep this one in your hand, and that was one turn, okay? Now I'm going to keep player 2 off screen. So let's just say player 2 for their turn, they take, oh, I don't know, they take this one here. Okay, so let's talk about this one here. This one is like a flower garden. It counts as an attraction. When you place an attraction, that could be, for instance, the petting zoo, or the reptile house, or the aquarium, for instance, if you place those kinds of tiles, and that's also the aviary too, if you place those kinds of tiles, including this one, you immediately get to put a zoo visitor on this tile right away. Awesome, right? But yeah, let's just say that player over there took that one, okay? So now it's back to me. Let's just say they went ahead and they took their action, maybe placing some tiles into their zoo. Okay, so then on my turn, now it's my turn, so now I have only a few tiles to pick from. So let's see here. I always have to take one tile to draft anyways, and I think that I am gonna go with, oh man, so many choices. I think I'll take this one here. Okay, now I'm only drafting this one at the moment. But you'll notice it has the elephant on it with this basically this camera here. This is basically a location where you can put a zoo visitor if they're able to basically view an elephant in the adjoining habitat. So this is a habitat that's adjoining this. So if there was an elephant here, or on another tile that shares the habitat with this tile here, then you would get to place your zoo visitor at this location. So like for instance, if this was here, and I was able to get that elephant and place it here, this is part of the adjoining habitat for this. So therefore a zoo visitor would get to be placed there, for instance. And if it was here, same thing. If it was here, same thing, because this is the adjoining habitat. They're getting to view that animal in that location, so you get to put a zoo visitor there. So that's one of the other ways that you can place a zoo visitor, is if you have something like this, and there's one for the giraffe, for instance. So you'll be able to place, and some of the things, obviously, and you'll be able to place the zoo visitor there. So that's two ways so far you can place your zoo visitors and put them basically, in your zoo. Now, let's say I take this one here. Now, I can place this one on my turn for an action, so that's what I would do. I'm going to take this one and place this as an action. Now, I still can't take that elephant because it cannot share a space with that zebra up there, and this is the only habitat I have. So that means I can't take the elephant or the zebra. My second action, I could do this, though. I could take this, and that's what I'm going to do. My second action will actually be to take this and play it here, because that works. Now, when you're placing tiles, remember, Carcassonne. If you've ever played Carcassonne, games like that, they need to be matching, okay? These areas need to match. So habitats must match the habitat on the other tile, and so on. It's got to be lining up perfectly, basically, on the tile in order to place it. So, like, for instance, that is not a legal placement, okay? This is definitely not a legal placement, but this is, because this is all pathway here. So that's something to note. But if you've played Carcassonne, that's pretty easy to remember that it's just like Carcassonne in that way. Okay, so that's basically it for my turn, because I can't place any animals, and I can't take any more actions anyways, as I used my 2 actions to place both of those. So then the next player would go, player 2 would go, and they would take one of these, probably, let's just take this one. They're going to take this one, okay? That's the one where they're going to take. And it looks like they have some alligators on this one. Not that it adds anything interesting, but I didn't notice that until now, but there's alligators on this one. Cool. Or crocodiles, one or the other. So cool. And then they take their turn. Maybe they just can't take animals either at this moment. Okay, so now it's my turn. Now there's still 2 tiles left. So let me take one. Let's see here. Where would I take one? Where's a good one to take? That's tough. I guess this one would work. So I'm going to draft this one. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and place this one right here. That lines up nicely. And for a 4x4 grid, that works really well, too. So that's helpful, for sure. Now, for my second action, I can finally take some animals. I can take these animals here. So I'm going to take the elephant, and I'm going to take the zebra. Okay? And so I'm going to place the elephant in this habitat here. It's the adjoining habitat with that. So that means I immediately get to place a zoo visitor right here at this location. So he's going to go there. Or I guess you can put him here too. That counts. That makes more sense anyways, because he's there taking a picture of the elephant. And the zebra is going to go into this habitat over here. So I guess right there it works. And because it has 2 watering holes, obviously the elephant can go here, so that works out. So that was my entire turn. Now the player 2 goes. Now there's only 1 tile left, so whenever there's only 1 tile remaining, then these tiles are then drawn. So here we have the rhino. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the rhino and place it down. Now the first thing you're going to do is, you'll notice this gazelle here has been sitting in the reserves for a while, so before anything happens, this gazelle is going to go on the first available spot, which just happens to be the 1, and then you will place the next tile down. Technically, you could probably just place all of them together, and then place out all the animals, and then flip over the tiles, but for me it's easier to just do it one at a time. So I've got this rhino here in hand, so I'm going to flip it over and put it right there, and then place this one down in the next available location, which is actually right there. Then we've got the giraffe, so I'll grab a giraffe and place this tile here, and then place the giraffe down on the next available slot, which would be the 6. So up here, for instance. And then the next one is the ostrich. So let me grab an ostrich. So the ostrich is going to go on 7. And then we can flip that one over. And then you'll notice this one has the hippo on it. So there's the tile that has a specific non-secluded animal. And so I'll need to grab the hippo for this particular tile as well. Hold on. So yes, now I've got the hippo here. So the hippo is going to go on number 8. And then this one can go here. And then one more tile, the gazelle is drawn. And so the gazelle is going to go on number 9. And that nearly filled up the entire area over there. There was only number 10 left. Okay? Whenever there are no more slots available to place animals there, any additional animals that are drawn from the tiles that you place out will just get put into the reserves. And then on the next time that you need to replace the tiles again, if there are empty slots available for the animals in the reserve, they're going to go there. Okay? If there isn't, then they get discarded. So that's something to note. But that's how that's going to work. And this game will continue until there's basically only 1 tile remaining. The chances is that there will only be 1 tile left out, face up, and then you would have to draw tiles. But if there was only 1 of these left, then obviously game over. Okay, so that's how the game will end. You basically use up almost all of these tiles here, and then the game will be over. So that's how that's going to work. You're going to continue doing that, trying to build your zoo the best way possible. And you're just going to keep doing that until, you have the coolest looking zoo, and obviously, as far as you can go with tiles concerned. And then you will count up your points. You, first of all, we'll see if you were able to complete any of these objectives, and you'll get stars for the completed objectives. Now, if you were able to, let's say, get a rating of, this first one here is an animal rating of 20. If you were able to somehow get an animal rating of 40, you still only get 3 stars, okay? So there's no point in trying to get more than 20 because, you're only going to get 3 stars anyways. Same thing with this one. This one is going to score you 2 stars if you have 6 visitors at the end of game in your zoo. If you have 12, you're not getting more than 2 stars, just so you know. Same thing with this one. This one is encircled habitats, meaning a habitat that is completely encircled by pavement. That would be a completed habitat. If you have at least 2 at the end of game, you're going to get 2 stars. If you have 4 encircled habitats, you still only gain 2 stars. and then so on and so on. This one here is going to score you 2 stars if you manage to get a zoo visitor in a basically in an adjacent, not adjacent, but in an adjoining secluded habitat. Okay, so if you have, I don't know, that hippo or something like that, and there's a zoo visitor basically viewing it, just like this one is viewing the elephant, but is viewing a secluded animal, then you're going to get 2 stars. You're going to get 2 stars that way. Now, there's only like 1 tile in there, though, that can actually do it. So if you're the player that gets that and it works out for you, then you can score 2 stars for that. And then this last one here is going to score you 1 star if you have at least, if every animal in the, basically the adjoining habitat of the zoo entrance here, or exit, whoever, if you have like 2 zebras, for instance, then you won't get the star. But if you have different animals in this habitat here, that's part of this here, you're going to score a star that way. Okay? That's basically how those would work. Now, there are obviously different tiles that do different things that we didn't really go over, so let's just kind of quickly go over them. Obviously, the shark, this shark here, you'll notice this shark tile here, this aquarium, is exactly like the that one tile that well, you'll get to put a zoo visitor on it right away. It's exactly like that tile that player took that had the flower garden. It's exactly like this. You place this in your zoo, you get to place a zoo visitor right away. Same thing with this one here. You get to place a zoo visitor right away. They're a little bit different. This one's got like the planet on it. This one's got like a star on it, but they're the same thing. They're going to score you, basically, not score you, but they're going to let you place a zoo visitor right away just for simply placing them in your zoo, okay? That's how that's going to work. My restaurant here, the way it's going to score you a zoo visitor is if you have 2 seating areas adjacent to this restaurant. So, for instance, this is a sitting area right here. If it was adjacent to the restaurant, I would have one of the equation I need, but I would need the other one that would also need to be adjacent to the restaurant. So I would need, like, for instance, one right here as well. And then, because I've got 2 adjacent sitting areas to this restaurant, I would be able to play a zoo visitor at that location. Okay, that's how that's going to work. If I had another restaurant, let's say I had a restaurant right here, and it had 2 sitting areas next to it as well, they can actually share the same sitting areas. So even though this one is adjacent to 2 and this one is adjacent to the exact same 2, I would still get to place a zoo visitor at this restaurant as well. So that is something to note. That's really cool, right? If I had, for instance, the gift shop. So let's move that one out of the way. If the gift shop, and here's the gift shop. Okay? Here's the gift shop. If the gift shop was adjacent, which can't really go there because of that. So if the gift shop was like, for instance, adjacent in this direction, that would work. Okay? You're going to get to put a zoo visitor right away in the gift shop if it's adjacent to the entrance of the zoo. Okay? If it isn't, then you won't get to place a zoo visitor here. If you're playing with the Monorails expansion, then obviously there's going to be some slight differences in that equation. But that's the point. You're going to get to place a zoo visitor that way. And then obviously I already explained how you're going to get to place a zoo visitor in that location, but the aviary is the same thing as the aquarium. Okay? Same thing. And that's basically all of the placement tiles for getting to place your zoo visitors in your zoo, obviously. So, thank you guys for watching. I think I did a pretty good job explaining how to play this game, and we will talk about more clarifications on those city objectives, you know, in a future video in the future. So, thank you guys for watching this how to play video. If you guys liked this how to play video, if it made it easier to understand how to play this game, don't forget to leave a like for me. And yeah, this is such an awesome game. It's fun. It's really hard to score points for sure, but it's really fun nonetheless to try to even score just a couple of points. You're just like, yes, I got 3 points. I've only played this game once, but I scored 3 points on my first game. That's awesome. That's That's actually almost exceptional. I seriously doubt I could score more than 3 points, at least in a multiplayer game anyway. So that's pretty awesome. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys again next time.